This beautifully quaint town is Dürnstein, Bavaria, Austria. The place we're looking at was once an Augustine monastery. It was reconstructed at the peak of the Baroque architectural style. The church's clock tower is the most prominent and finest example of Austrian Baroque architecture in the Danube Valley. The castle at the top of the mountain is Könringer Castle. It is where Richard the Lionheart, the King of England in 1189, was imprisoned after the Crusades and returning to England. He paid for a meal with British coins by mistake, and that's how they discovered him. He was held 12 to 14 months for a ransom. Feudalism was a large part of Germany's medieval history. Farmers were given the land to farm for a rental fee. Then, as usual, the landlords began levying increasing taxes. The people grew tired of working hard for nothing, so they rebelled and attacked their landlords. That's the reason we see so many castles with fortified walls and lookout towers. I guess some things in history just never change except the people and the names of taxes. We are passing Lorelei, the legendary mermaid that would lure sailors with her singing to their deaths. The Danube runs through 10 countries and 4 capitals. It's the second longest river in Europe, beginning in the Black Forest and emptying into the Black Sea. To this day, it remains one of Europe's most significant and historical waterways. It runs through some of Europe's most breathtaking regions, such as the Washoe Valley we see here. Over centuries, it has been used by countless civilizations and cultures as a trade route and economic artery. Armies have been stopped at its banks, its boundaries mark the edges of the Roman Empire, and its bridges have linked nations and people. It's inspired people to cultivate vineyards and composers to write music. Simply put, the Danube is the heart and soul of Central Europe. The Danube exposes yet more secrets. These are Hitler's tunnels built through mountains. They had church steeples and school buildings in a lot of them, and this would be yet another entrance to another tunnel as we pass along the Danube. We're on our ship again as we're making our way down the Danube toward Melk. We're just taking in all the sights and sounds. The town of Bacharach on the left-hand side. Our guide just told us this is Rheinfeld Castle, and it has been purchased and is being turned into a hotel. Abbey was originally another Habsburg palace, and now it houses over 80,000 medieval manuscripts, mostly written in Latin, and has about 700 students. After our wonderful tour, we opted to walk back to our ship for the exercise. This is our lovely and lively tour guide, Brigitta, spelled Bridget.
Dated 25,000 years old. They show you the pilgrimage church from below. Yes. And that is where we are driving now. We drive up and you will love it very much. It's beautiful there.
Bridget was right. The pilgrimage church is beautiful. And outside this monument of some sort, we couldn't read it or understand it, but the view was spectacular in all directions. As usual, Bridget was correct. We'd always be able to find her in her hot pink dirndl and parasol, her accent describing the cemetery, the monastery, the inside of the church, how ornate and small it was. I guess they were preparing for a wedding. They even had some small depictions of how it was in the time of the Bible. We're walking toward the monastery, and there are only 4 monks living here. We wonder how they make it. Little extra income might come in the way of weddings or parties here in this area. I've never before seen a sculpture like this where it depicts Mary's mother, Anne, with Mary as a little girl and the baby Jesus. This monastery is really deep in the ground, and looking at the bottom we see a few monks who still live here. We can always find the shopping plazas. We discovered in medieval times that in the square the red was for butchers, blue for the bakers, and green for wine merchants, yellow for brewers, and strolling in the lower town square, it's like time has never changed. We found a lovely little coffee shop, and of course we had to indulge. And we just love the way they serve everything on china. It was also a lovely people watching day because they were having a bazaar in the town square. We will be touring Passau, Germany, a Bavarian city known for 3 rivers, a blessing and a curse, and I'll explain that in a moment. The Inn River is from the south, the Ilz River from the northern Alps of Switzerland. Since it's glacier water, it has a green color. Then, of course, the Danube. Passau looks back on more than 2,000 years of history and is located in eastern Bavaria on the border of Czech Republic. Safely docked again thanks to our very experienced crew. In our walking tour with the adorable student guide, she is among the 11,000 students attending the University of Passau, a city with 50,500 population, including the students. In a densely populated medieval area where students live because it's close to university. They come to learn teaching, law, economics, and computer science. Rent is very expensive. It equals out to about, for 1,076 square feet, $1,000 a month. So students very wisely share flats. Up close and far away look at St. Stephen's Cathedral.
Passau. So it's an important pilgrimage church for Hungarians because we have got the first queen of Hungary buried, or the grave of the first queen of Hungary is here in this church. It's Queen Gisela.
Passau was built by the city's prince bishops. The cathedral, St. Stephen's, which houses the world's largest pipe organ with almost 18,000 pipes, was their first residence. Okay, back to the curse I mentioned earlier. The blessing is all the water. The curse is numerous buildings have markings showing the highest water level since medieval times. They're still renovating and digging out with machinery the still wet and moldy soil, basements, and foundations of these ancient buildings, costing about $100 million in damages. We're winding in and out of streets, but if you'll notice the water marking on the old grain tower, you'll see the old medieval part of the city was completely underwater. Notice all the smokestacks. Where there are stacks, there are breweries. The Holy Roman Empire was not centered in Rome, but in the Kingdom of Germany, its largest territory. By 800 AD, when Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne the first Holy Roman Emperor, God's deputy in the physical world, comparable to the Pope's role in the spiritual realm, the previous Roman Empire had already fallen, more than 3 centuries earlier. This is an orphanage where children come to live and be educated, and in the 17th century, this was the home of the executioner. Since Passau was built by the prince bishops, they strive to show their princely and political strength along with their Episcopalian lifestyle. Passau was originally a Roman provincial town for over 400 years, and with the establishment of an episcopal residence in 739, the city life of Passau began to develop. The bishops built themselves a new residence that would afford them all the luxuries that nobility needed, such as holding rooms, praying rooms, musing, and entertaining. The interesting fact about this monastery is that if you wanted to climb it, you should climb it on your knees. because that's spiritually correct. And you are praying to God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Then you can pray for your knee surgery. In the 13th century, bishops became rulers of the independent and small Passau. The Italian Baroque masters created the old city we see today. The Baroque design of Passau is dominated by large squares, including a trendy shopping area. And of course, just off the square is where we found our beer garden and had the best meal of the day. Bavaria originally belonged to the Wittelsbach family from 1180 to 1918. A very long history and story there too. If you care to research it as I did, Al liked this sign, so we took a photo. We stumbled upon this place and we are so excited. They speak English?
My name is Zhivka.
What does? We don't drink beer, so we ordered bottled water and that was just fine. It went quite well with our Wiener Schnitzel and Spätzle. That was superb.